And greetings. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Steve Deace Show here live and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. It is a very special day. In a few moments, you will see we have a surprise for you on the Dace Group. But until then, I'm Steve Deace. He's Todd Erzin. He's Aaron McIntyre. We are brought to you by our friends over at Conduit Clothing. If you've been waiting for a reason to stop playing it safe with your faith, this is it. Now, we talk about courage a lot on the show, but courage starts with faithful obedience. Conduit Clothing exists for one reason: to push Christians out of their comfort zone and into action. Their mission is simple: witness to at least one person, one conversation, one soul, not some big corporation. It's really just a guy with a full-time job. He's shipping every order himself. Our goal, by the way, is to make this impossible for him to continue to do that. So he has to actually become a big corporation. That's what we're doing here. All right, so this is mission-driven, not margin-driven. He's waived shipping. You use discount code Steve for free shipping. He's got cool gear. I've got one of his hoodies. It's fantastic. There's even a code to receive a free hardcover ESV Bible to give away, and he'll cover shipping on that too. All right, there's 500 of these just sitting in his garage right now. They don't belong there. All right, they belong in the hands of whoever the Lord will. So faith before profits, mission before money. You can help him with that. ConduitClothing.com. Use the code Steve for free shipping. Be bold, be obedient, be a conduit for Christ. ConduitClothing.com. Code Steve for free shipping at ConduitClothing.com. Code Steve. And also don't forget, the latest issue of Frontier is about to hit. If you want to become a Blaze Unlimited subscriber to get your copy and all of the other back issues as well, BlazeUnlimited.com/Dace is where you can go. Use the code Frontier40 in order to get $40 off your subscription at blazeunlimited.com/Dace. Code Frontier40 at blazeunlimited.com/Dace. All right, it's now time for the Dace Group. Your weekly look at the week that was begins as it used to do. Well, looky who we have here. Our beloved friend, sister, and former now colleague, Jill Savage. It is excellent to see you. How are you?
It is. It's great to be back here with you guys. And, for us, we still talk offline all the time. But we had to do this officially again. It's not like there's anything going on right now.
Not at all.
Right? Like
not at all.
Very slow news time. It's the golden age. We knew this is going to be the best that we've ever had it. And, things have kind of fallen off the rails.
So this has been a much requested guest on the panel over the last few months. And it's not just been Paul Alexander spamming my texts, all right? Or he's got a lot of burner accounts I'm not aware of and email addresses. There are a lot of people that have been looking forward to this. People want to know, how are you doing now?
Great. Somehow, some way made it out of the Islamic Republic of Texas. As soon as
Yikes.
that happened, I was like, okay, lease is up. I am
Could smell bacon again?
Here. Yeah, this is not happening.
I thought it was rough when I called him a purple state a couple days ago.
Wow.
Top rope.
Property of Allah out there. My uncle lives a few blocks away. He could hear the gunshots. They're in Austin, Texas, and they've already made it known that Dallas is their city. It's a matter of time, guys. And I was like, you know what? I can stay here and wait for it, or I can leave.
And so you chose the latter.
So I chose to leave.
You chose to flee.
Yeah.
So are you doing well?
It's great. Yeah, no, everything is good. There will be announcements when I can make the announcements, and everybody will be, the first to know will be right here with you guys.
Well, it is great to see you're in town visiting family, so we were happy that you could swing by and give us some time. And we're going to get your expertise underway. You ready to go?
Let's go.
All right, it begins as it always does, your weekly look at the week that was with issue 1, bleep, Lord Nefarious says.
Before we go further, I want to acknowledge that our trans community needs abortion care too. Defending trans Texans is something we have to do every day at the state capitol. And you better believe I'll be giving sermons on that too. So when I use the word woman, it should not be understood as an exhaustive term, but rather as a lens through which to understand, examine, and interrogate patriarchy.
Modern science obviously recognizes that there are many more than two
biological sexes. In fact, there are 6.
Christianity points to the truth. I also think other religions of love point to the same truth. And so I see these beautiful faith traditions as circling the same truth about the universe, about the cosmos. And that truth is inherently a mystery.
God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary. Mom would turn to me and she would remind me, women will never be free until they belong to themselves. Women will never be free until they belong to themselves. The disagreement about the legality of abortion is not a disagreement about life. It's a disagreement about personhood. The worst part for me was the number of Christians who used scripture to justify hurting children. No one disagrees that an embryo is biologically alive. We each have trillions of living organisms inside of us right now. Trans children are God's children, made in God's own image. There's nothing wrong with them. Nothing at all. They are perfect, they are beautiful, and they are sacred. Our oldest scriptures, 3,000 years old, reject embryonic personhood while affirming female personhood.
There are interpretations of certain passages from the Torah where some folks will even say that there is some subtle instructions for how to perform an abortion in the ancient world.
In fact, modern mass Christian opposition to abortion is a relatively new phenomenon. The Southern Baptist Convention itself was pro-choice until the 1980s.
Before God comes over Mary and we have the incarnation, God asks for Mary's consent.
Did they teach you in Sunday school that Jesus Christ himself was a radical feminist? In fact, the only person to ever beat Jesus in a debate in the Bible was the Syrophoenician woman. Think about that.
For me, prophetic voices like Jesus have helped me reckon with my own whiteness, my own masculinity, my own certainty, my own ego. Creation is one of the most sacred acts that we engage in as human beings, but that has to be done with consent. It has to be done with freedom, and to me, that is absolutely consistent with the ministry and life and death of Jesus.
Being Christian and being pro-choice are absolutely consistent.
So this idea that to be a Christian means you have to be anti-gay and anti-abortion, there really is no historical, theological, biblical basis for that opinion.
James, I think I love you.
Wow.
The number of times I thought of nefarious while that was going on, and then Aaron, you bring it at the end. Perfection. Dark, dark perfection.
Wow. Is that the first time we've ever done one of those dedicated to one person?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
And it was tough to cut it down. And I'm not exaggerating.
Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, the videos of him preaching are from like 21 and 22, correct?
It was a few years ago.
So
yeah.
just a few years ago. Just a few years ago, this guy is pastoring a church of literally 40 largely Karen, boomer hippie blue hairs, because that's the only crowds these kinds of churches ever generate. When a guy like that becoming pastor of your church, did he destroy your church, or is he the pastor because your church is destroyed? And the answer is yes. All right. So there are always these extremely small congregations of losers, because if you adopt his ideology, you pretty much come to the conclusion, why do I have to even get up on Sunday mornings at all, right? I don't have to even do this anymore at all. I have to give money. I don't have to be a part of anything, and it's all about me. And so the amount of people who are literally retarded enough to buy into the demonic worldview of it's all about me, and then still get up early in the morning and pay money to have someone tell them that it's all about them, is really not very large, and it's largely just really old hippie boomers. Okay, and from pastoring a church of about 40 people, he received over 1.2 million votes in the Democratic primary to be the United States senator, one of only 100 such jobs that exists on all of planet Earth. someone no one had even heard of just a few months ago. A handful of interviews, and you saw basically all of his entire campaign there. Anybody have any file footage of a James Tallarico campaign stop? Do you guys, do these even exist? He went on Rogan and he went on Stephen Colbert. That's his entire campaign. And his entire pitch is, I am the apostate that you've been waiting for. And the amount of Democrats who then stood up and said, on a second thought, that whole racialism thing and that whole racial identity thing, and we're going to set that aside because the grift that we're really after the most is deconstructing Christianity, even if it has to come from a straight white male at the same time. And the Tallarico candidacy is its origins, how it evolved, where it came from, where it's taking place, is the most openly demonic thing that I think that's ever happened in the American political system. Or at the very least, since the Dred Scott decision. I mean, this is just not natural. You cannot naturally do what James Tallarico has done. Which brings me to the first question, and Jill, you get it here. And this will be a very hard choice to make. What was the most evil thing you just watched and why?
One, Aaron, I hate you for that.
You're welcome.
And thanks, because this is really the best way to just jump back into this is a montage like the one that we just saw. But I just look at James Tallarico. One, I just left Texas. We just talked about this. I just put this behind me because of all the crazy things that are going on in this state. But Texas is almost the perfect place to have this candidate, right? It's the place that we still think of as like, you can't mess with Texas, Todd says all the time. You can mess with Texas. This is another version of you can absolutely mess with Texas. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen right there. But when he was saying out there that Jesus was a radical feminist, that was my favorite part of that entire thing. Like, just think about all the conversations that we have had on this show about gender and the hippies and the movement that we've all seen and where that's gotten us, right? And all the transgender nonsense that we've been dealing with. Can you imagine if this is where we are right now as, Gen Xers and millennials, if a guy like James Tallarico gets in and he continues to push that door even further, the conversations that we've already had are going to be tame in comparison to what is around the corner. And that, for me, I can almost not even bear to even let my mind go there and figure out, well, what is that next thing? Because it is so demonic, because it is so terrible that we are not at the end of whatever lessons we have needed to learn. We haven't learned anything yet.
Todd?
The fact that he told you that Mary, the Mother of God, was basically a proto-Margaret Sanger. That's exactly what he said. And so at least one part of Texas that has to demand that they won't be messed with. All of the Catholic bishops in the state of Texas must send out a clear signal in writing to all the parish priests saying that at the very least, you clean up this mess. You address this. This is not just politics. There's nothing to stay out of. You get up to your eyeballs in this thing and you say, over our dead bodies, is this messaging going to happen?
Aaron?
I want to point to a couple things more subtle. Towards the beginning when he's talking to the New York Times, and we featured this clip before. It's been in this montage before, where he's talking about, I believe Christianity points to the truth, but I also believe other faith traditions of peace point to that same truth. And then he ends it with this. And that truth inherently is a mystery. Now, he dresses it up in flowery language, befitting of the itchiest of itching ears.
Mm-hmm.
But what is he actually communicating there? In very flowery language, there is no truth.
Correct.
there is no truth. And his entire persona is the straight white man. Hook 'em, guys, hook 'em. Hook 'em, let's go kill some babies, huh? I saw a 14-point buck the other day. Let's go trans the kids, hook 'em. You want to get a beer? It's just nauseating. But he's pulling it off because those itchiest of itching ears, that's most of this country, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back for a second to what you just said, Jill, about Texas actually being an excellent breeding ground for something like this. Jasmine Crockett performed what really in this last generation has been the most effective political grift in America. It's why white Democrats code switch. It's why on the right, we took people who never exhibited really any ability to truly understand our belief system, and we don't have a clue where they came from, like Candace Owens, and elevated them to positions of multimillionaires because they would say things white people wanted to hear while not being white, so we wouldn't appear to be racist. Right? That's what on the left, you have white folks code switching. On the right, we take people that don't believe really any of the stuff we believe and make them huge stars because we are so defensive against being called racists. This has been the most successful political grift of all of our combined lifetimes. And Jasmine Crockett ran that playbook to a T in a state where 1 out of every 4 primary voters is black. Went full cherry girl. Fake nails, fake eyelashes, fake, ghetto queen, trash panda dialect, did it all as a private school princess, ran it all to perfection, the greatest grift of the last half century of Americana. And in a year's work of worth was completely undone because in a span of a month, James Tallarico got on Joe Rogan and Stephen Colbert shows. And the siren's song of now is our chance to apostatize Christianity once and for all is nigh. If that generates that level of response in Texas, ask yourself, what would James Tallarico get in a Democrat primary in Massachusetts? California. Still think there's a third way? Still think we're not dealing with a political party that's a demonic construct? The challenge you just laid down to your own church, Todd, is very reminiscent of what Ken Paxton did yesterday. You called their own bluff. So are we really a church here? Or are we really just a social justice grift with, Bible verses and church tradition taken out of context? So James Tallarico agrees that the southern border should be America's front porch, which is what your Catholic bishops largely believe. Okay, so what comes first, right? Our own tradition, our own stated theology, or the political machinations of the moment. That's essentially what you just called out with what you just did.
Yeah.
Because if it's the former, they would do and already would have done exactly what you just said. But because it's not, they haven't done it and therefore likely won't. The hour is later than I think we understand and realize. Exit question. On a scale of 0 to 10. Never done that before. I did it just for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. On a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being how often Lindsey Graham would hit on Jill Savage here.
Oh, gosh.
No matter how many times Paul Alexander's had to wipe off his screen by now. And 10 being how many times Lindsey Graham hit up his Grindr account over the last weekend to celebrate his long, fetishized bombing of Iran. Rank this week's level of total depravity, Jill.
I'm going to use Donald Trump's own words. It's a 12 or 15 out of 10.
Todd, same to you.
10.
Aaron?
Same.
All right, issue 2, speaking of Iran. Does the Iran war risk splitting Trump's base?
Here is the latest update from Brad Cooper, commander of Central Command on the war in Iran.
We are now starting our 6th day of a historic mission to eliminate Iran's ability to threaten Americans. We are, if I could channel my inner Navy officer, we are at full speed ahead in executing orders given by leadership in Washington. The President and Secretary Hegseth have been crystal clear in their expectations, and we are at a high level of execution. As described by the Secretary and earlier this week by me, U.S. combat power is building as Iranian combat power declines. Our air dominance allows us to hit Iran's center of gravity with overwhelming power and reach. A couple of examples. In just the last 72 hours, America's bomber force has struck nearly 200 targets deep inside of Iran, including around Tehran. And in just the last hour, U.S. B-2 bombers dropped dozens of 2,000-pound penetrator bombs, targeting deeply buried ballistic missile launchers. Notably, we've also struck Iran's equivalent of Space Command, which degrades their ability to threaten Americans. Then, if I just look back over the last 24 hours of the operation compared to where we were at its start, ballistic missile attacks have decreased by 90% since day one. Drone attacks have decreased by 83% since day one. Having said this, we remain vigilant. Our strikes against the Iranian Navy have intensified. You may have heard the president say just a little while ago that we have sunk or destroyed 24 ships. That was true at the moment. We're now up over 30 ships.
So yesterday, the president essentially excommunicated Tucker Carlson from MAGA. Now, I think we all recognize the president is highly transactional, and we are just one Tucker Carlson. I have a strange new respect for Zionism after all, away from him getting a speaking slot at this summer's midterm convention, right? That's the president's superpower, is there's always a deal to be made somewhere, correct? Okay, which I think also, though, ought to speak to how frustrated the president must be with Tucker for him to excommunicate him the way that we saw yesterday at the same time. Both things can be true at once, all right? So with that being said, does Operation Epic Fury risk splitting Trump's base? Jill, what do you think?
I think absolutely, because you just look at this, and the Time magazine headline this morning was Trump wants, the full unconditional surrender of Iran. Time magazine's like, Iran's like, bring on the ground invasion. We don't care, right? We've seen this film before. You guys don't have any political capital to expend on this. Go ahead. Let's play this out. Let's find out, right? The Steve Dace phrase. Let's find out. That's what we're doing right now. I feel like when you look at Iran, sure, if it was like Venezuela, if we went in and we went out and it was over within 24 hours, people would be like, all right, cool. Look at us. America, #1. But now we have the headlines coming out of, this might last till September, right? Polymarket saying this might actually cost $184 billion through September. I'm sorry. If Donald Trump had just said once or twice on the campaign trail, we're not going to go to war, it's fine, you'd say, well, he's like any other politician and he's just doing whatever he had to do. Tell me if I'm wrong, guys. But I'm pretty sure that I saw clip after clip after clip after clip of Donald Trump saying, I'm your peace candidate. You want war? That's not me. That's not going to happen. So now we are faced with, are we going to go through and have the clapping seals, the influencers, are they just going to be like, great job, anything you say, we're here, even if it absolutely contradicts what Donald Trump had said he was going to do on the campaign trail? Or do we still have those people that are out there that are willing to think for themselves and say, hold on, I think it's actually okay to still support the president on what he's doing well, but when he's not doing the things that he had promised us, that we don't need to have just absolute blind loyalty. Because I just look at the overall Trump presidency, and I looked this up. When was the last time Donald Trump talked about draining the swamp? When was the last time, right? The deportation, deport them all? Oh, no, they're good workers, you guys. They came here illegally, sure, but we need them. The last time that he talked about deporting them all was at the joint address to Congress at March 2025. We aren't doing, right? I feel like we're at a bait and switch right now, right? So if you're going to be one of the clapping seals, you're like, everything that you do is great. We don't have time for this. We don't have time for this in the country. Just blind loyalty moving on with whatever he wants. I think at some point you have to say, okay, that's fine. But, like, again, what's the plan here?
Todd?
It definitely will split the base, rightly or wrongly. There is just a large section of young American men that we talk about in various contexts on this show all the time. And instead of seeing the guys in fatigues as extension of Captain America and beating the bad guys, they've become isolated in their thinking. They resent the fact that they can't get a job, they can't get a wife. A lot of them do that behind anon accounts and want to play video games all day. So it's not necessarily I'm siding with them or against them. I'm just weighing and measuring all the psychological and emotional data. And I don't see a way around this where this doesn't get worse from that perspective. Even if this is the exact right war that has to be fought, because no matter what Trump said in the past, danger, Will Robinson, things went code red based on things we don't necessarily know all about. Even if that's true, there is just a bunch of American men these days who have decided that when they look at how you handle Minneapolis, why does it look like 10 times tougher how we're handling Iran? Maybe if we were handling Minneapolis in an entirely different way and setting a precedent there, it would be different, but they feel betrayed there. Again, sometimes I agree with them, sometimes I don't, but I don't see a way around the fact that this hurts the base.
Aaron?
I think it has the possibility to. I think the reason why I set that up with Brad Cooper, we're a week into this, and overwhelmingly it seems like, well, at least when we wake up in the morning until about 7 a.m. Beijing time, it seems like things are going very well. And then during the day, Beijing time, we're flooded with a lot of propaganda trying to cast aspersions on what we're doing. But the reason I started with him is because it seems like things are going very well. On Sunday and Monday, though, we were saying, okay, we got to pump the brakes. It's only one day in. Now we're saying, well, okay, it seems like it's going pretty well, but we're only a week in. If we start saying, oh, it seems like it's going pretty well, but we're only a month in, we're only 3 months in, we're only a year, that's when it really starts to grind people. Unless, of course, it goes exceedingly well, and this is just a part of life now that we're bombing Iran. I think some of the people that we're talking about here, some of the young men maybe that Todd is talking about here, opposed to any and all foreign intervention, I just don't trust that even if this is a resounding success and all of the remaining surviving mullahs came out of their hidey holes and said, we surrender, Jesus Christ is king. If they said that, I just believe some of these people would not even take yes for an answer.
Right. No, because it goes against their own narrative.
They're so committed to their narrative.
Yes.
So all that is to say, I don't know. It has the possibility to, if it goes on for too long and there's too many negative headlines, that can shape opinions. But I just think there are too many people too invested in a narrative that I'm not sure it matters.
All right, very quickly, because I'm looking at the clock. I guess we went a long time on Tallarico. Very quickly, because I was actually thinking it almost feels like people aren't even paying attention to it anymore.
I know.
I've just moved on. That's why I'm not sure it has the potential to split the base, because I think people have just, outside of the folks that Aaron's talking about on X, I think most of the American people, unless the body count starts to escalate, right? Then it does. Then they care. But I think most people have just kind of moved on, which is, and not necessarily for the right reasons. Not necessarily, hey, because everything's just so going great, just because we just can't hold our attention on anything of significance anymore.
Well, but they moved on from an already unaware and depressed turnout, which we've diagnosed on this show before. We
I'm
need
not saying it's for the right
We need
reasons.
to go it in the other direction, and this isn't helping.
I don't disagree with that. I don't. But I mean, Fox switched over to regular programming 2 days ago. I just don't get the sense that this is occupying this space in our brains that we all thought it might.
Well, the fact
on
that
Friday
Fox is
night and
moving
Saturday
on
morning
is not necessarily a good sign, too. Maybe they understand exactly how they don't want to be part of depressing the base.
All right, very quickly, the president's current approval rating is 43.3 at RCP. 2 weeks from now, is it higher, lower? Just give me a one-word answer, Todd.
Same.
Lower.
Same.
All right, we'll come back. How will the economy respond to everything that is happening? Let's discuss that next.
The Steve Deace Show.
right, back here on the Steve Deace Show, one of the things I love about our friends over at Jace Medical is they came to us particularly because they wanted to get in the fight, particularly because they were upset, they were disappointed, concerned with what they saw happening to venerable drugs like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin right in the middle of a scamdemic, right in the middle when maybe they might have been needed more than ever. And these are award-winning drugs that have saved literally hundreds of thousands of lives all across the globe during their times since they were developed. And now suddenly they're horse-paced and they're even being mocked on NFL pregame shows. That's how deep the propaganda well went. And that's where the idea for the original Jace case came from. Hey, if they can take drugs that they just gave a Nobel Prize to a few years before COVID and smear them this quickly, what can they do to drugs that have been around for a century like penicillin? And so the Jace case originally was about making sure that those venerable antibiotics were available just in case that could never happen here. Happens here again. Over the years now, they've been with us for almost 5 years. This has expanded. They have lots of other customizable options, including maybe some of the medications your family needs to make sure you've got backups of those. If, for example, you end up in a natural disaster and an auto pen is president, Jill, like what you saw in North Carolina a couple of years back, right? All right, this is where Jace comes in, and yes, the aforementioned ivermectin is included, right? So get your Jace Medical purchase today at a discount with my code DACE at checkout for a discount on your order. Promo code DEACE at JASE.com. Promo code DACE at JACE.com. All right, she's back with us again. Our former colleague, but forever friend and sister, Jill Savage, is here for the Dace Group. Let's get back to the weekly look at the week that was with issue 3. How will the economy respond to all this?
It remains to be seen, though it's feared we won't have to wait too long to see how the ongoing conflict in the Middle East affects the pocketbooks of millions of people around the world owing to squeezes on energy supply chains. The latest jobs numbers are out this morning in the United States, and as Bill Malugin at Fox points out, they're pretty rough. 92,000 jobs lost in February, a miss from the expected 60,000 job gain. December and January also revised 69,000 jobs lower than previously reported. But some added context is also necessary. The data shows foreign-born workers have lost over 500,000 jobs over the past year, while native-born workers have gained 128,000 jobs. Even with all the cinematic drama unfolding in the Middle East, you have to think the economy is still going to be the priority in the midterms.
All right. How we doing here with the economy, Todd, and this war thus far? What do you think?
Oh, well, we don't know as it applies to the election yet, but there's just things going in opposite directions. No matter what happens with oil, et cetera, within the Trump administration, you've got things going one way with AI, which not only does nobody know, at best, nobody really knows how that's going to affect the economy and jobs, but the safe money is that it's actually going to get rid of a lot of jobs, and we don't know what it's going to replace it with. So being pro-AI, but desperately needing to get more people employed and working and spending money in an economy that makes sense and where, you can get a Happy Meal for less than $10. Nothing about this is answering questions that we believe fundamental to these midterms, in my estimation, yet.
Jill, this is your wheelhouse. What do you think?
Yeah, so I want to start with a 30,000-foot view of this, right? We always knew we were going to get here at this place, whether it was going to be Iran or however we got here, because the clock started ticking in March of 2018. That's when China came out with the petro-yuan. So it was a ticking time bomb ever since then, right? You're going to move into whatever the next phase of, Bretton Woods 2.0 would be. That's what we're doing right now, right? It's Venezuela, then it's Iran. You're dealing with China one way or another right now. So it's the global reset. Now, my problem with all of this is that if we knew, Steve, we are playing offense, correct? And you have a strategic advantage when you're on offense because you know the plays that are coming. Mm-hmm. You are the quarterback. You are the ones that are setting this time frame. We, and rightfully so, would give Joe Biden a ton of crap for the strategic oil reserve being at the lowest levels historically, right? That was 350 million barrels of oil under Joe Biden. We've added like 100 million barrels. We're still only around 58%. Well, guess what? Politico, Susie Wiles, has come out and said, oh, crap. rising gas prices are going to be a problem for this election. I'm sorry, we're on offense. Did we not know that we were about to go drop bombs?
Well, can I add a further context? Because
Sure,
you're alluding
please.
to something I was going to ask you directly about.
Please.
I am on record. I am entirely in favor of empire. Always have been. I mean, I was arguing for empire in Iraq when I first started doing this, when you were listening to me as a teenage girl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So because since Genesis chapter 3, all human societies are either conquering or being conquered, and there is no in between. That's the realities of the world that we live in that has fallen because of our sin. You're either the conqueror or you are the conquered. Those are your options, right? So that's why I was ecstatic about what we did in Venezuela.
Yes.
All right. So Venezuela is the largest crude oil deposit, as far as we know, currently existing on planet Earth. All right. We essentially just did a overnight regime change there with the leader in imprisoning Maduro. Why would we need to deplete our strategic oil reserve in order to put more product on the market to lower prices when we own Venezuela's? Why don't we put their oil on them, on the market? Why are we depleting our strategic petroleum reserves when we own Venezuela's? Can you help me understand that? That's the thing I don't understand.
I mean, if we were going to go through, because I looked this up, the Department of Energy was like, oh, no, we're not just going to take Venezuelan oil. And I'm like,
well, then why'd we do this?
What was the point?
I'm on record. I am in favor, very much so, of wars for oil. Completely in favor of them.
Yeah, they said there's going to be like a sale potentially of 50 million barrels. Like we might get it at a discount. We just took it over, guys. What are we waiting for?
I mean, I
don't understand.
Why don't we just
This is the point.
take the Venezuelan oil rather than deplete our own? Does anybody have an answer to that for me?
This is another answer for why we're going to split our base.
This-
No one can do this math.
So
This
here's
is
some
what it
math.
always goes back to. Yes.
Here's some math for you. A month ago today, crude oil futures, $63 a barrel. This morning at 4 a.m., $80 a barrel. Right now, $91 a barrel. That's going to have as much impact as anything. But on the flip side, as I just saw, somebody commenting on these rapidly rising oil prices, it's going to be wild to see Texas have 8 teams in the college football playoff.
There it is.
Hey,
I mean,
what that means is no Texas A&M coach is safe. I don't care what your buyout is. All right? I mean, you one subpar season, you are toast. They can afford it. All right? No, I'm in all seriousness, let me ask again. Cuz listen, let's go back to what you said before. And let's say that Trump's messaging was more, we're not going to fight any more stupid wars, then we're not going to have any wars. Let's just give him the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
All right. Okay, cool. Again, I'm all in favor of that. All right. Why did we get rid of Maduro if it wasn't for the oil? How does this alter the average Americans? If you're not getting paid to post the memes, and most of you aren't, the reason we all cheered that, I think, is, at least the reason I did, is I thought we were going to take their oil and not let China buy it, but claim it for ourselves. And why don't we just sell the oil at a reduced rate? We can even buy it, okay? Like we can even buy it at $50 a barrel. Give the money back to the Venezuelan people to totally buy off their love of America. You see what I'm going with this? And we can sit here and bomb Iran until Lindsey Graham is spent, until there's no more blue pills left to resurrect Lindsey Graham's withering nether regions. It's not possible. We can bomb Iran, okay, until Paul Alexander walks here to ask you out, all right? Because we don't care. We don't care what happens in the Straits of Hormuz. We don't care because we've got an endless supply of oil pumping out of Venezuela at $50 a barrel, going right into our economy to keep the black gold flowing, and we're paying back off the Venezuelan people because now we've got a market-based economy, middle class, and guess where we're going to ship all the illegal aliens to? Gonna send them all to Venezuela. They can work all those oil fields there and work for their citizenship as to be a Venezuelan. I mean, it sounds like a pretty good plan. So we're not going to do that? And what was the point?
My problem is...
Are we going from bringing, democracy to the Middle East to justice to Central America? Was your life altered in any way, shape, or form while Maduro was there? Is it gone? Has it been altered in any way now that he's not? Again, I thought the whole thing was to take the oil. If it wasn't to take the oil, then what was it for? Take the oil. We're America. I feel like that. Who is the guy, Seth, what's his nuts, in the Austin Powers movies? When he kept looking at Seth Green, here's the gun. Just shoot him. Just shoot him now. And he wants to monologue no, shoot him, right? Austin Powers is sitting right here. Just shoot him now, right? I mean, take the oil. Just take the oil. Just take the oil.
We have the same reaction.
The oil. Just take the oil.
It's right there. But my problem is that if we're playing 4D chess, right? Everybody, the knock-on effects that we're going to have, right? It's not just this. It's, the dominoes. Keep going, keep going, keep going. We couldn't figure out to get the strategic oil reserve filled before we were bombing Iran. Again.
See, I would have figured that's why we did Venezuela. That's why we did Venezuela first. To secure the largest oil deposit in our own hemisphere, so we don't have to be beholden to what happens over there in the Middle East if we're going to go in.
Now,
that's 4D chess to me.
If the Department of Energy is lying, then we're not doing that.
And let's hope that they are. Or retarded, because that is retarded and cannot happen. We should just take the oil. Just take the Venezuelan oil. Just take it.
Well, the truth might be, in their estimation, something that they know they can't say politically, is that there's, based on our workforce and other factors, there's no near-term fixes, even with that oil field. And this is basically a long-term Cold War, just like to hollow out Russia with mutually assured destruction and the industrial complex. This is to hollow out China, but it's going to take multiple generations. And we all know, whether that's true or not, if they believe that's true, they also believe that they can't say that out loud because that no one is going to accept that politically. So fun.
But see, I think this is why this can't split our base, because this conversation is not the debate that is happening on the right over all of this. It's what it's about that. All right. I mean, if Tucker did this show instead of, guys, did you know I know I told you all along that these aren't real Jews and they're not religious and they're a synagogue of Satan and godless. But it turns out it's actually, I did another pound of Zyn and I got on Wikipedia at 3 a.m. when I couldn't blink for an hour. And I found out there's actually a secret cabal of Jews that really are trying to rebuild the Temple Mount. See, that's easy to just completely dunk on. That's emotion-based, and outside of 3 19-year-olds, outside of Nick Fuentes' audience, that's not a critical mass of any Republican voter or any voting bloc in America at all, and largely a Reddit X phenomenon only. This is an intellectual conversation trying to connect dots that I think are very good questions to ask. But outside of the last 40 minutes on this show, when you guys are all online. I mean, you guys see all the content that's being... are these questions getting asked anywhere else?
It's like the Financial Times is writing about these things, and it's only because they actually care about the oil part of the deal, but this isn't happening in a political conversation.
All right, we're up against the clock. Exit question. True or false? We should just take the oil.
True.
Todd?
Sure.
Aaron?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
We won.
If you could, kicker topic, if you could appear on a righty podcast to disagree with them about something, which show would it be and which topic? Quickly, Todd.
Tucker. And about once being like David French, a possible presidential candidate, and now being hated by the very people that would have voted for you.
Trying to figure out the deconstruction of the two? Yeah.
Tucker, again, and he had a great series on 9/11, right? 5-part series. It was awesome. This problem started well before 9/11, right? The Marine song has it all the way in there. So it's not just a Bibi problem. It's not just a 9/11 problem. This goes back in time.
But Qatar is a better place for Christians to live than Israel.
If you say so.
Aaron.
Candace, I heard from a very trustworthy source. It was my dad's cousin's roommate's uncle's cousin's mother twice removed. I don't know what that means. That Candace actually is a Jew.
Bro.
I'm just asking questions here.
How much Jew blood does Candace Owens have? Maybe that's a 7-part series. Okay. Okay.
Nothing screams Ashkenazi Jew like Candace Owens.
All right. Predictions. Aaron, go.
I believe we will actually be out of Iran before the end of April.
No, we got to be out earlier than that if we're going to go to Israel at the end of April, though. It's got to be like at the end of March.
We're not going to Israel.
Todd, go ahead.
Win or lose in Texas, James Tallarico this coming December will be polling in the top 3 Democrat presidential candidates for 2020.
Unless we saw the same phenomenon with Beto, I could see it too. Yeah. What do you think?
My favorite headlines of the week is 100% of audited Medicaid claims for autism care in Colorado were improper or flawed. That was 100%, in case you missed that. 100% of them were improper or flawed. We're not going to do anything about it. We're going to know it. It's just going to keep going on.
I'm going back to the Tallarico well. Tallarico is going to raise even more than Beto O'Rourke raised in 2018. Beto raised over $80 million. I think Tallarico is going to raise more than that.
Because Texas.
Because of it's not even about the Texas race. They'd love to win it, but he can be used to fund candidates and causes for them all over the country, just as Beto was. But now Tallarico is a manifestation of their greatest shibboleth of the damned. I mean, the amount of money that they're going to raise off of him. I mean, there's not enough desperate men in the world for Bunny Blue to sleep with, okay, to come close to the amount of money that Tallarico is going to raise here. It's going to be astronomical. I wouldn't be shocked if he raised more money than any Senate candidate this entire cycle, Republican or Democrat. Just because of a national vehicle to apostate Christianity. All right, we'll come back. Feedback Friday. It'll be your turn next. All right, back here with Hour 2, live and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. Alongside Todd and Aaron McIntyre, and today's guest, she decided to stick around, our very own Jill Savage. Good to have her back with us. I'm Steve Dace. Let us know what you think about what we think via the stevedace.com inbox by emailing the show, steve@stevedace.com. That's DEACE. Like us on Facebook, me, we, and Gab. You can follow me at Steve Dace Show on X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also find me as well on our YouTube channel at Dace Show on YouTube, although that's very hard to find. At Dace Show on YouTube. You can also please leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcasting platform, as tens of thousands of you have. Thanks for all of those. And thank you for adding yours maybe one day. Maybe that day is today. You can also hit subscribe, or if you're on Apple iTunes, follow, and that makes sure that every time we do one of these new episodes, you know for sure it's right there in your podcast feed. And our friends at Preborn want you to know for sure that they are beyond thankful for your generous support since they signed on with the Blaze a few years ago. You guys have helped them to save tens of thousands of babies. This year, the goal, in fact, they've got a bold goal for just this March. They want to see if they can save 6,800 babies this month. That's going to take 124 partners saying yes every day. And to become one, it costs you just $28. That's all it costs for an ultrasound that doubles a baby's chance at life. And I would argue maybe doubles mom's chance at eternal life as well. For $140, you can maybe save 5 babies and their mamas, right? Every single dollar helps to save babies and share hope. That's why they're a 5-star rated charity. And yes, your donation is tax deductible as well. When you go to preborn.com/Steve, that's preborn.com/Steve. Again, you guys have been so generous for the greatest cause of all, the cause of life. Let's keep it going at preborn.com/Steve. All right, Jill, I think you've never set in on a Feedback Friday before, have you?
No, but Todd went so Vanta Black, and he went even worse than I did on the economy. So I thought, you know what? It's a Friday. Let's let it ride.
Let's let it ride with some Feedback Friday. You guys ready to go?
Yes.
Let's start with Jonathan in Huntsville, Alabama. If you guys remember our old terrestrial syndicated radio show, I mean, the response that show would get from Huntsville, Alabama was legendary. I used to say, I mean, this whole thing in syndication may fail, but I've got a job doing local radio in Huntsville, Alabama for the rest of my life. I mean, Huntsville, Alabama went bonkers for our old syndicated radio show back in the day. And Jonathan is from there. He says, Dear Steve and fellow coattail writers, I have the perfect replacement for a trip for Aaron to use his fancy camera setup meant for the Israel tour you were hoping to do. A behind-the-scenes tour of the nearest Buc-ee's and holding a taste test ranking of the fresh offerings, and make sure to try the Texas cheese steak burrito. I love this idea.
Yes.
Cosign.
How would we weave worldview into this? That's my first question.
You know what?
I love the concept.
I will figure that out on the right. You leave that one to me, okay? All right.
Where is the nearest Buc-ee's?
That's another good question. Let me find out. Where is the nearest one?
They're building one in Wisconsin, aren't they?
Are they building one there?
Yeah.
Where?
Go back to my people.
Buc-ee's to Des Moines, Iowa. Let me find out. Let me ask Grok. See what Grok says. All right.
Looks like northern Texas.
Is it?
Yeah.
Springfield, Missouri.
Oh, Springfield. Okay.
Well, it opens this month in
Okay.
Springfield. That's 360 miles away, though. Here's the thing. That's a 6-hour drive. We could fly to Dallas in an hour and a half straight through from Des Moines. Because there's one, it's in one of the suburbs down there. Dexter, Grapevine, it's in one of those,
Yeah,
right?
they have
okay.
many.
Down there? All right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we just take the hour and a half flight to Dallas, man. Straight shot, rent a car, hit up the Buc-ee's.
Although I'm not sure I want to go to Dallas after what Jill said at the top of the show.
You're welcome.
Well, before they turn it to,
Bring your prayer rug.
Yeah, and before they show you the halal, the wall of halal.
Are they
Instead of the wall of beef jerky at Buc-ee's, it's the wall of halal.
Do they have any
So
pork?
we should go now.
Do they have pulled pork at Buc-ee's?
They do.
They do. In fact, I had one of the greatest pulled pork sandwiches of my life at a Buc-ee's outside of Temple, Texas last year. It was insanely good. Yeah, it was crazy good. It was pork. It was pulled pork and brisket, and it was crazy good. I love this idea. I mean, I love this idea.
This is quality content.
It is.
This will boost
I am seriously contemplating doing this. Just walking around, getting Todd's reactions. Okay. I mean, Todd will leave poor Josh Pate alone and just begin to internet stalk Buc-ee's for the amount of comfort and idolatry they are providing the average American that I cannot get enough of.
You can get a patio table, chapstick, and a pulled pork sandwich, and just not even you have to take 3 steps to do it, Todd.
Dude, the bathrooms at Buc-ee's, legendary. You could take your prom date to the bathroom at a Buc-ee's. That's how clean it is. It's incredible.
They sound like they're doing productive things at Buc-ee's, unlike Josh Pate. So that's
Buc-ee's is, dude, Grok says one is scheduled to open in Kansas City in 27. I don't know that I can wait that long. See, but I've got you work in Republican politics, man. You meet a lot of people from the South. So all my friends told me for years what a legendary place this is. My wife went down when Noah did an internship with Believe, the people who made Nefarious a couple summers ago. She went and visited him. He took her to a Buc-ee's. She came back and it blew her mind. And I'm just like, it can't be this legendary. And we stopped in last year when I did a speaking engagement in Texas, and it's incredible, guys. Buc-ee's it's a magical place.
My favorite thing is that when you're driving through the South, right, and they're always like, oh, this exit, and it's like Buc-ee's will tell you, in 256 miles, there's a Buc-ee's for you.
Yes, it does do that.
Know
yeah.
That keep waiting. If you have a drive.
Yes.
we'll be there for you.
It's Buc-ee's is
Because
See, this
it's
is the way
that
I-
level of
Buc-ee's is everything.
This is the way I feel about Waffle House.
Oh, you're a big Waffle House guy, are you?
I love Waffle House.
Yeah. Okay.
It's-
That's another Southern institution as well.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
What about this? We drive to the one in Kansas City, but we race. And whoever gets there last has to hold Lindsey Graham or write him a letter.
How about we just fly to Dallas, take
See-
the equipment with us.
See,
All right.
you've got
And
food.
we'll hook each other up with it, and
This is-
walk in and get everybody's instant reaction.
Steve, I've got content on the brain. You've got food on the brain.
To me, that is content. That is content. Buc-ee's is insane. I mean, it's incredible. We did this speaking engagement was over our wedding anniversary, and the wife was totally okay with it because she wanted to go back to Buc-ee's. We did our wedding anniversary dinner at Buc-ee's,
Now that's American.
and she
right there.
loved it. Loved it. Okay, we got our food at Buc-ee's after shopping. We were shopping there for like almost 2 hours. There's so much stuff to do there. And then it was so nice out. We just went out back, opened up the hatch to the rental car, took our food out there. Okay. And that was our anniversary dinner, man. It was at Buc-ee's last year. And
Is this the empire you're going after?
she,
A Buc-ee's in every pot.
she
When
looked
does the Buc-ee's in Tehran open? That'll be the true test
Buc-ee's
of our
in
resolve.
Tehran. Nice. That's where you will have the halal wall. The wall of halal. Yes. All right, let's go next to Blake. On a slightly more serious note, but not really. I stumbled onto a video from J.P. Sears on his YouTube channel 2 days ago. Did you guys know about this? Aaron, did you know?
Nothing recent.
no,
No.
right.
In it, he accuses multiple different conservatives of being paid by TPUSA to attack Candace Owens, and one of them is you. Obviously, I don't believe you are being paid to do that. Maybe if they offered you like a pumpkin spice or shamrock shake, you would take it. And I think the video is ridiculous, but I thought you might find it interesting. He also cannot pronounce your last name. That is from Blake. So let me address this. Number one, I am being paid to attack Candace Owens. My business gets a nice, big, fat quarterly check from Blaze Media every single quarter. And for those of you who went to public school, that's 4 times a year, and has been since 2018. And they in fact have paid me for every single opinion that I have given you, because that's what I get paid to do, is to give my opinions. This whole thing, like, well, look who's donating to people, or do you think the advertisers we talk about, do you think I do those for free? I do those live reads for free, you think? I'm paid for every single one of those. Now, here's the thing. I get to decide whether we're going to do that live read or not. Like, I had a client that was brought to me this morning for a sports book. I said no. I don't inherently think, and I know Catholics could care less about gambling. It's very divisive in the Protestant side of things. But I just said, listen, I don't think that is a client that would split my audience, and the amount of revenue we would generate from it in order to explore a gray area isn't worth it. So I rejected it. I've rejected numerous advertisers over the years. I've accepted many of them, and they paid me to give my opinion to you of them. There have been advertisers that I at first accepted, and then I tried the product. I was like, yeah, I don't like it, and I'm not going to sit there and tell people I do. It's not going to work, right? So number one, everyone you have ever listened to, everyone, has been paid by somebody to tell you what they think. Because none of us are doing this for free. It is a business, is it not?
Correct.
Correct. So raise your hand on this set if you've been paid by somebody to tell people what you think. All of us have been. Every hand is up. All right. The question is, so I don't really care that a bunch of Muslim interests are donating to Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey, by virtue of being a Ron Paul acolyte, has been anti-Zionism and Israel skeptical his entire career. It's part and parcel with the Ron Paul narrative and ideology. So, I mean, Thomas Massey is from the First Church of Ron Paul. He doesn't need $3,000 from 10 Arabs all right, to not want to go to war for Israel according to his worldview. He'll think that all on his own. And then he's going to get money from those people because he thinks the same thing that they think. So the issue isn't that a bunch of Arabs are paying Thomas Massey for his anti-Israel opinions. Your issue ought to be whether you agree or not with his anti-Israel opinions. Because would Thomas Massey have the exact same anti-Israel opinions if he was getting paid by 10 Arab interests $3,000, do you think? And the answer is yes. The question is someone being paid to say the things that they don't think, or that they otherwise wouldn't think unless they were getting paid? I have no problem at all. If TPUSA said, Steve, we're going to launch a counteroffensive to Candace, and we want you to be the lead influencer, and we'll pay you $20,000 over the next 3 months. You guys know what my answer would be? Where do I sign? That would be my answer. Because is it already what I think?
Yes.
Have I not already been getting paid for saying what I think about Candace Owens?
Yes.
Yes. So why would this be any different? It doesn't change what I think. I was already getting paid by what I think about Candace Owens. Now, have they done that? No, they have not. Now, if Candace Owens called me and said, I'll pay you $10 million to go on the air and tell people how great I am, do you guys think I would do that?
No.
No, I would not. So there's nothing wrong with being paid for what you think. We're all getting paid for what we think. A politician is getting paid by what he thinks. I mean, people tend to, you need money to run for office. You're going to probably get money from, there's two kinds of people you get money from. People who agree with you and people who don't, because those are the only two kinds of people. All right. So the question doesn't come from how much money did you get from how much money did people donate that agreed with you, candidate Acme A, B, and C? No, the question is, well, you used to say this, candidate Acme A, B, and C. Then you got a bunch of this money, and now you say something different after you got the money. See, that's the question. That's the question. So no, I would absolutely accept remuneration for criticizing Candace Owens for being the satanic slanderer grifter that she is. I am open for business. Call me. All right? I'm open. Okay? Totally. I will not accept business, though, for saying things that I don't agree with. And that's what makes somebody a grifter, an opportunist, etc. Anybody want to add anything to that at all?
Well, as an OG listener of your show, I remember that you willingly went on air right after Nefarious, right? You came on air and you were like, hey, I've had the best year I've ever had. I'm just going to tell you how much money I made. And you just said it on air.
I did do that. Yes.
He just did that?
Yeah,
right? Like you had no problem going and saying the thing. So now the fact that like somebody's like, oh, he's hiding this. He didn't hide it. What was that? That had to be 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. It was 3 years ago.
Sure.
Nefarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, since
it just seems long. There's a lot that's happened.
I know. You've been through a lot the last 6 months. You are able to extrapolate the calendar all you want, and no one will hold that against you. Yes, go ahead.
Well, since we're sharing concerns about one another, JD, you are a smart and talented guy, so you should also divulge, because our main concern is you have a take that is that stupid about Candace and Erica, and you're doing it for free. So
we saw your content during COVID, and we all know you're a lot smarter than that.
So gosh, I hope this isn't for free. And secondly, point of clarification, because since you bring up Catholics and gambling, I will happily take whatever paycheck you want to fight against and make it all online gambling illegal. Happy to do that for you. No problem.
So to be clear, TPUSA has not paid you to say the things that you've said about Candace.
No, but okay. I would accept it if they were willing.
I might sue you if that was the case. Speaking of suing, it's one thing when some anonymous account with 300 followers posts an AI-generated image of a purported email that lists people like Steve on it, and it's passed around by various accounts, insinuating. It's a far different thing when somebody in real life puts their real name on something like it sounds like JP did. I think the question everyone needs to be asking is, are some of these people going to be wishing they had deeper pockets by the time this is all done?
Indeed.
See,
go ahead, Todd.
And what JD could have, because he's been on this show.
JP, you mean?
JP, yes. Once before, but him or anybody else, one thing I'm certain I don't think they did, call you up and ask
Nobody
you.
asked me.
Because you want to call me up and talk about Candace? And if hey, let's do this. Yeah. Where was that call, guys?
Yeah. Funny how that works.
Yeah.
They never bother to DM me or call or, hey, what do you know? Hey, you knew Charlie. I mean,
JP, did the Jews make you illiterate too?
yes. Yeah. I mean, do you think Israel, guys, Charlie was the last high-profile person under the age of 35 that Israel had left in the American evangelical movement. But yes, they tried to kill him. You're retarded. Dave writes, as a teenager, I worked in a McDonald's that test marketed the Shamrock Shake.
Once again,
He's already jealous.
Steve's Empire, Shamrock Shakes.
I think you could have
Buc-ee's.
You could have
Lindsey
been there at
Graham
the
here-
beginning.
Yeah.
You
Lindsey,
could have been there at the beginning.
What had the stronger reaction? Lindsey Graham when he heard the bombs were dropping over Tehran, or Steve, hey, I was at a McDonald's test marketing the Shamrock Shake. Stronger reaction.
And
Lindsey
all
or
the
Steve?
angels blew their trumpets.
Yeah.
I'm having one tonight, in fact.
See?
It is.
Yeah.
He
It's on the calendar.
schedules Shamrock Shakes.
It is. It is.
It's not even a whim.
My oldest daughter, Anastasia, is just basically my twin. Okay. She's obsessed with him too. So we're going up to do an event with for Adam Steen tonight in Iowa. He's running for governor. And we're going to get there early enough so we can stop by the Mason City, Iowa McDonald's
So
and grab a Shamrock Shake.
I might
Not even
get
making
the
that up.
point
That's already planned.
back from Todd with this because as all in as I am with you on the pumpkin spice.
Yes. You're not in on the Shamrock Shake?
No, that's mint? Right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not a mint.
Not your thing?
Nope.
It's okay.
Nope.
It's all right.
Not at all.
I get it. Listen, you have to be in.
Anything?
You have to be in on one of those two, and you're in on one, and that's good enough.
Okay.
That's good enough.
All right.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know.
He's in on either one,
gener-
and so he's hanging by a very slim thread. Yes. Anyway, back to the note. That's not where it ends. There's more to it. Could have just ended it there. I know, but there's more to it. McDonald's back then did not supply the mint flavoring, so they instructed owners and operators to secure the flavoring locally. Our supervisor sent my high school buddy Lou out to purchase the flavoring. Lou returned a short time later with it, and he mixed it with the vanilla syrup as instructed and proceeded to make several Shamrock Shakes in anticipation of the lunch rush. In the process, he sampled his work, and he found it to be delicious. But approximately 30 minutes later, Lou was nowhere to be found. Turned out he had a personal emergency. A closer examination of the flavoring bottle revealed that it was actually a laxative. And I might add, a very effective one. To the point this
He bought a mint laxative.
Yes, yeah. The mishap was quickly rectified, but not before a few of those shakes had been sold. It is unknown just how many had the same stimulating experience of perhaps their first and maybe then only Shamrock Shake as old Lou. So enjoy those minty Shamrock Shakes. Happy and joyful Easter. That's from Dave V. I have to say, I've never had that experience with a Shamrock Shake. There's a couple other things at McDonald's over the years that have given me that experience, but not a Shamrock Shake.
All they do is give.
That's right.
They never take.
Ain't that the truth? Which is why about the only time of year I eat there is when there's a Shamrock Shake.
Well, I'm not down on McDonald's. I mean, a Big Mac. I mean, any time of the week.
No,
I mean, filet of fish on Friday.
That's exactly where I was going. I was like, it's filet of fish season for us.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember 3 years ago when it was for all of our lives 2 filet of fish for $5 on this time of year for you Catholics.
Now we're talking about.
Now it's 2 for $7.
Now we're talking about the economy again.
Yeah, it's like what's that, like 40% inflation just since the last 2 years of the 2 for fish on Friday deal?
Yeah, somebody plotted the price of the Whopper at Burger King and the decrease in the price of the basic MacBook, and plotted that by the year 2081, a MacBook will be cheaper than a Whopper.
Bro. I made a stop. My son and I stopped at Subway. He did the last round of Steen campaign events I did back in January. My son went with me. We stopped at Subway for the two of us to eat. It was $35.
No, no.
I'm not making that up.
It was a $5
See, this is
footlong.
my point.
Okay.
Those two, Aaron, with what you just said, try to make sense of that. How do you address that economy no matter how much oil you have? How much do you address an economy where when we were in high school, my dad, go out and get a job. most people who live in the suburbs these days, these kids don't get jobs. Their parents don't make them get jobs. Who's going to staff all of these places? So they have to pay ridiculous wages that it should, instead of for a 15-year-old kid making your fries. This is my point. I don't even know what this economy is, and I don't think the experts know either, and I don't think they can be honest about that.
That's why we should take the oil.
That doesn't answer that.
But it's a good start. Given that it's the number one commodity product in the economy is petro-based production, it's a good start. I'm not saying it's the alpha and omega, but it might be the alpha.
If we're not arresting
Take the oil.
If we're not arresting people, if we're not draining the swamp, at least you can take the
oil. At least take the oil. Dawn writes. So, Aaron, did you have anything to add? I'm sorry. Did you? No?
No.
Okay.
No.
Dawn writes, tell your buddy Todd to come down to Central Florida during the summer, which is 10 months long, and say then that he wants to outlaw air conditioning to my face. And I will happily and joyfully kick his cheap ass with every bit of strength I have left in me after suffering through those scathing temperatures and record-breaking humidity levels. People in Florida have one thing Urza never will. They are getting time off in purgatory for their suffering. I'm a Catholic with a new rosary intention, hoping for a hellish summer like no other in Iowa now. Best to you guys, and I love your show.
I thought he was going to say they have something down there that I never have, an SEC championship. I thought that was going to be the
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
No, but I mean, it does. Nice. It makes us soft, but I'd happily say it to your face, but over coffee or a beer, it'd be fine. I mean, I've got there's an anonymous guy right now threatening next week to come visit me. So I've got all people
one of these days
in all
one of those
kinds
guys
of places whose their sacred cows are what they are, and you just poke them a little bit, and they can't even. So I mean, we can break bread anytime you want to. You sound like a nice guy. We'd have a good time. But
it's a gal.
We have
Dawn, not Dawn.
Dawn. Gotta acknowledge that these kind of things have undeniably made us soft.
Listen, I'd be a serial killer if it wasn't for air conditioning. Couldn't handle it.
Point taken.
Okay, I mean, could not handle it. That energy would just have unhealthy.
But you haven't tried.
But
I have.
It's all the coattails. So his name's on the show. So you have to have air conditioning.
That's right. Correct. All right. Hey, folks. Speaking of comfort, you'd like maybe a little bit more if you're struggling with chronic pain. I meant to say in English. That's where our friends Relief Factor come into play. Get the 3-week quick start today. It's just $20 to try it for yourself to see if you don't see a difference in your pain in 3 weeks or less when you go to relieffactor.com. Now, no guarantees, right? We're not claiming this is some kind of an antidote or panacea, but over the years, 1 million people took up this offer. 70% of them over the years have seen such good results, they have stuck with the product long term. So it's just $20 to try the drug-free supplement of Relief Factor for 3 months to see if you don't see a difference in your chronic pain. That's that achiness, soreness, stiffness that lingers in your muscles and your joints. See if you don't see a difference in that quality of life in 3 weeks or less for just $20 at relieffactor.com. Again, head over to relieffactor.com. Once again, that's relieffactor.com. Joe Allen writes, what do Jasmine Crockett, John Danforth, Joe Buck, Betty Grable, and Vincent Price all have in common? They are all graduates of St. Louis Country Day School. Again, the whole ghetto queen trash panda act has been an act the entire time.
Vincent Price
even, yeah. Betty Grable, I think, wasn't she like the very first like American like pinup girl from like the World War II era? Is that what I'm thinking maybe? Like pre-Marilyn Monroe? Is that right, Joe?
That's what I think.
Oh, well, she go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And John Danforth was a senator, right? Senator from Missouri? Yeah. Like when we were kids, right? So we have, Joe Buck's one of the great announcers in terms of, I know there's a huge amount of people that dislike him. I don't understand why, but
He's gotten better.
Yeah, the guy's done Super Bowls. In terms of major events, few in American history have done more than him as a broadcaster. Betty Grable was kind of America's first, it girl of the pinup girl era. Vincent Price is considered to be the Laurence Olivier, basically, of the horror movie genre. John Danforth, former senator. And then you have, a wannabe ghetto queen trash panda and Jasmine Crockett. I mean, they all went to the same school.
They should be so proud.
Indeed. Indeed. I mean, Jasmine Crockett might be the best actor on that list. If you stop and think about it. All right. All right, let's try this one from Jeffrey Payne. Instead of reporting election results as candidate versus candidate, we should do it as candidates versus the electorate. Example, not that candidate X got 60% versus candidate Y got 40% with a turnout of 20%. Say that candidate X got 12% of the electorate, candidate Y got 8% of the electorate. The first way makes it sound like a landslide victory in a mandate. The second reveals that the real winner of this election was the system status quo, the god of our soft paganism. I found this to be fascinating. So you guys see what he's saying? To report this in terms of not how they did head-to-head amongst those who voted, but those who could have voted. Yeah, who were eligible to vote.
You had me at
I
the
knew
gods of soft paganism.
I put this in explicitly. I knew between all the Central Air and Shamrock Shake Talk and Buc-ee's, you would lose your mind. So this was put in specifically and in this order just to pander to you specifically.
And don't forget Josh Pate.
And to leave poor Josh Pate alone. Great American. Aaron, go ahead. You were going to say something.
No, I think that's a fascinating idea because then it's inescapable. If this was like a law or something that we forced, I'm just doing a thought exercise. It's inescapable. People's duty or dereliction thereof of actually doing the bare minimum in our system of voting. You're just shoving it right in their faces. So I think that's a fascinating, creative idea.
Jill?
It's all the vinegar that Todd needs. And you know what, Steve, as the host that you are, you offered him this one last email here before the break. So you didn't lose him. So he didn't just walk out.
I could see he was hanging by a string. I could see it.
Yeah.
Never walked out on the coattails.
I could see that. No. I knew that my man needed a little van to pick me up. I could see that. So I'm your Huckleberry.
The more vinegar, the better.
Yes. But I mean, could you imagine turning on these networks on election night? Congratulations, President Newsom. He's won 9% of the popular vote.
It's just Todd being the Elmo meme going,
yeah. Yes.
I mean,
behind him.
I mean, there is nothing more Todd than turning the way we report on elections into a shaming exercise. That's just...
Amen. I say
Gavin Newsom's up there. Folks, I just want to say to the 9% of Americans eligible to vote that voted for me, I'm not going to let you down, I promise.
I am the real life Frank Costanza in Festivus. It's time for the airing of grievances, and I've got a lot of problems with you people.
Yes, it's just that time does not come to an end. It's time, and then half a time, times a time, right? Indeed. We'll come back in a moment. More Feedback Friday coming your way. Stay tuned.
The Steve Deace Show.
Well, you see the bag of masa chips there on the desk. If you really want to upgrade your snack life, look at the typical bag of chips. Do a laundry list of those ingredients, all the artificial flavors, all the seed oils, right? And then look at the back of the bag on the masa chips or the Vandy Crisps. You can do that with those too. Those are insanely good, by the way. Those potato chips are. And 100% grass-fed beef tallow, corn, sea salt, just those three ingredients. That's it. That's what's on the back when you look at it of the masa tortilla chips. And they're legitimately good as well. And I know you're thinking, well, those bags are too small. You're not going to eat that many of them because it's like real ingredients. You'll be satisfied quicker. They're made with real food. So they're going to be actually a satisfying snack. You won't get bloated, sluggish, none of that crash afterwards. All right? None of that stuff. Go to masachips.com/Dace. Use the code Dace for 25% off your first order today. That's Masa, M-A-S-A. Masachips.com/Dace. Use the code Dace for 25% off your order. And the Vandy Crisps, the potato chips I mentioned too, that are the cousin here, that discount is eligible for those as well. All right. So vandycrisps.com or masachips.com, code Dace is where you want to go to get that 25% off. All right, back to some more Feedback Friday. And we go where? We go to Wes. So I guess it's easier to attack other countries and help their people celebrate freedom than it is to put Americans who committed treason behind bars so we can celebrate the saving of our country and Western civilization. And the answer is yeah. The answer is yes. And for years, a lot of us on the right thought that we needed a businessman to run government as a business, okay? Except government's not a business, but I understand why we thought that, and those instincts why we thought that were good, okay? But you have to understand the kind of business that Trump ran. Trump did not run some kind of publicly traded conglomerate where he's doing quarterly meetings with shareholders and regional VP. Trump ran an empire where he was always the guy that could be Commodus in the arena doing the thumbs up and the thumbs down. And that is the leadership profile and behavior that is his natural habitat. And so does a president have more power to unilaterally exercise, gentlemen and lady, does a president have more power to unilaterally exercise on foreign policy or domestic policy?
Foreign.
It's not even close. So in Trump's first term, was he more successful with foreign policy or domestic policy? Foreign. What are they stressing right now? Even though we have control of Congress, what are they? Well, whoever we is. Republicans technically do, by the slimmest of margins. But where does Trump see he has an opportunity to? So the first year, he tried to focus almost exclusively on domestic policy, right? Except for Midnight Hammer, all of the first year was on domestic policy, right? And he came out guns blazing. What did he have a complete menu of when he first came in? Do you guys remember what it was? All those executive orders, right? All right. And then so the first half, we were sitting here. Jill came in to do the Dace Group. She still worked here at the Blaze. She didn't have to write down notes of laments, okay, like she came in today with, because we were all happy and we were all on mission and we were all unified and we were all moving the domestic agenda we had all just voted for, right? Right?
It was a great time, Steve.
It was. But then we got to the second half of the year where the limits of what he could do unilaterally on executive power were now in a position to be checked by the other two branches of government, both the judicial insurrection of a bunch of Obama and Democrat appointed justices. For the most part, some of them were justices he appointed as well, but most of his problem were Democrat appointed justices. And then the fecklessness of the U.S. Congress, right? Their ability to get stuff done at a statute level to codify his executive orders, right? And slowly but surely, as we got into the second half of the year, and the more that the other two branches of government now had agency that they didn't have the first 6 months of Trump's presidency when he could act unilaterally, the more and more you could begin to see that momentum was starting to slow down, right? Okay. So we come out of the and we're now into the first half of the new year. It's clear. I mean, we have to put a proverbial gun to Congress's head to pass a bill that says only Americans with photo ID can vote in an American election. And you want them to cut the welfare state and deport every illegal alien? I mean, guys, we have to threaten the Republican Party within an inch of its life to put in place election integrity policies that would help them win. I just saw during the break James Woods just put on Twitter, I'm out. I'm just registering as an independent. I'm just out of here. Can't handle it anymore. I just can't handle being aligned with this level of loserdom. I just can't do it. I mean, has there been anybody that has leveraged more of their public persona the last 10 years in support of Donald Trump than one of the few actors in American history that's won a Tony Award, an Oscar Award, and an Emmy Award? There's only a handful of actors that have ever done that, and he's one of them. All right? So has anybody leveraged more of their public position and persona in the last decade than James Woods has for Trump and his agenda? No, he's beyond frustrated with what I'm talking about here. So if you're Trump, right, that's now where you perhaps just, you know what arena do I have unlimited power. Where can I go? And act like it's my empire again. Here in the foreign policy arena. And so I think that is largely, the president doesn't, first of all, men in and of themselves are fight or flight individuals. We're all wired this way, right? Okay, so we will fight until we think we can't win, and then we'll fight where we think we can and stop fighting there. So, I mean, there's just way more opportunity to win, way more opportunity to exert influence and power in the foreign policy front than there is domestically. There's no John Roberts in the military. There's no federal judge at the corner of Haight and Ashbury who thinks they're the supreme potentate of America with universal injunctions. There's none of that.
He's an emperor abroad, a congressman at home.
Correct. Exactly. Now, is the president is not a victim. Is some of this at least his own fault because of his crappy endorsements of the entirety of his political ascendancy as king of the GOP? Is some of this his own fault?
Undoubtedly.
Undoubtedly. Now, however, did this dynamic exist long before Trump ever came to power? Undoubtedly. Is this dynamic one of the reasons why Trump came to power, that people wanted it desperately an outsider? Undoubtedly. Has he done some very good things in response to this dynamic? Undoubtedly. Has he also boxed himself in by attempting to cut deals with people there's no deals to be cut with and endorsing all these rhinos? Undoubtedly. On the other hand, has the grassroots always done a really good job of putting up non-crazy candidates in opposition to all these rhinos that Trump keeps endorsing? No. So in other words, is anybody a victim here, and is there plenty of blame to go around for the entire American right?
That's
Correct.
the biggest problem on the right, no matter who the president is. Our base has a huge faith without works is dead thing. You just got done talking about it with the laugh track in Texas, but it's deadly serious. We've got all don't mess with Texas 10-gallon hat ideas. The mosques are taking over Texas. Meanwhile, look at every blue state. And they're transing all the kids. They are true believers there. And they go out and get it done. We have all kinds of thoughts. We have all kinds of memes. We all have all kinds of anon accounts. But when it comes to the boots on the ground stuff, we always think it's somebody else's turn to do it at the federal level instead of locally. That's the difference. So we just look like everybody else on the cul-de-sac. We expect the gods at the feds to do something about it. It doesn't work that way. If we're different, we have to actually be different.
The GOP comes in and they say, you know what? Yeah, that guy down in Florida, he's bad, but we don't want to spend any money on that race. So you know what? We're just going to endorse the bad people. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Ultimately, this is going to rise or fall on us. The irony is that whether or not, and I want to repeat this because I've said it a million times, regardless of whether this is accurate, whether this is true or not, and it's not accurate in some ways it is accurate, the left, the spirit of the age, sees Donald Trump as the shortcut to the rest of us. The irony is that he actually, for better or worse, has taken a lot more action and is empowered to do so because of the rest of us, but has taken a lot more action, has suffered a lot more than the rest of us.
Yeah.
But his legacy is not going to be on him largely. It's going to be on the rest of us. Now, you can say I'm giving Trump too much credit. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit. But largely, if a critical mass of people just that voted for Donald Trump, a critical mass, heck, even a minority of the people, 30%, are willing to suffer as much, taking a bullet to the head, the legal lawfare that he's gone through, willing to suffer for what we believe in, then this thing is going to change overnight. But we don't have anywhere close to enough of those. Instead, we want our ears tickled by the James Tallaricos.
Dave Del Real writes, Trump says to the Iranian people that this is the single greatest chance to take back their country. Now, if only the American right, or better yet, the actual Christian men of America could take back this country.
Can we bomb Minneapolis?
I will say the amount of folks who posted, Mr. President, I have it on very good authority that the city of Minneapolis is very close to obtaining a nuclear weapon, or some other, lament on the left. That was a classic meme, okay, that went on over the last few days. But I should not say this. I really shouldn't. Yeah, I'm going to say it. Is there a greater desire among the average person in Israel and Iran to be free than there is the average American today?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
This is Todd's whole thesis.
It's not even close. Be mad at me all you want. I don't care.
And so, if that's the case, then this is what government by the consent of the governed means. You get the leaders that you deserve. You can't ever ask for more from your political system or political process than you yourself are willing to give, particularly in a self-governing country. You just can't. Okay? Iran has not been a self-governing country at any point in its history. Israel is trying to be one with a parliamentary democratic system that's barely half a century old. So, if it's true that, the president loves to feel the love. Loves to feel the love. Where is he more likely to feel love? Be viewed as a liberator of Iran, a savior of Israel? Or for what he's trying to do here at home? I think we have to ask ourselves what conditions are true on the ground here.
Yes, we do.
That these are unfortunate circumstances.
We're way too comfortable. We're way too comfortable. I guess we can, in the middle of March, just do top 10 lists online about what the greatest football stadiums are, or raise the bar a little.
I had some real problems with that list.
There it is.
Sorry.
There it is.
No, but listen, tens of thousands of Iranians got massacred over the last month and a half. Just to go out and proclaim their desire to be free without any ability to truly exercise that outcome to occur.
And so
just to express a desire, they risk their lives for that.
What do you always say about when our deepest desire is to just be left alone, Steve?
Yeah, I want to be left alone loses in every history book that's ever been written, every single time.
Then we're going to lose, because that's as consistent a conservative mantra. No matter what they say, in terms of what they do, that's what you see.
Kristi Noem wasn't the worst person in the cabinet, but she was the one that was fired first.
She was one of the worst, though, let's be honest.
She was one of the worst.
That woman's been plastic for years.
But
years.
I would argue there's a lot worse.
She's not even the worst woman in the cabinet.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we're
don't disagree with that. She's one of the worst.
She is.
Yeah.
But her fatal flaw was, I made a commercial that made me the Sun King instead of President Trump.
Yeah, she was pretty. She was pretty terrible. She had 3 strikes. Okay, he had to replace her with an adult. For what was going on in Minneapolis. Then the whole thing with Lewandowski, the on again, off again, rumored affair for years. Years that thing has been rumored on and off again. Okay,
this contracts thing could be criminal.
The contracts thing, and then her testimony. Yeah. She was pretty awful.
JPC has just emailed me. He wants to know how much you were paid to say what you just said.
I already told you what I'm getting paid. Jill pointed that out. I've told you what I'm getting paid. I already told you. It's pretty out in the open at this point. All right, final thoughts before we get out of here. What do you guys think?
Vanta Black isn't dark enough right now.
I don't feel Vanta Black at all. I don't. I just feel like, we're in this is just realistically where we are.
Yeah.
It's still better than we would have been if we lost the last election. My goodness.
True.
Okay. My goodness. I cannot believe Kamala Harris. 48.5% of the country voted for that to be president of the United States. No, maybe I am getting
48% or
can you imagine
27.6?
Yes, of the actual people.
Kamala in between cackles, demanding the complete and total surrender of the Iranian regime.
Oh my gosh.
Good to have you back, Jill.
Hey, what a week it's been.
I'd have you stick around for the overtime, best and worst of the week, but I think you might think it's just worst
worst
and
and
worst.
worst.
Yeah. And not have a best. Yes.
I mean, I back because we were surprising my dad for his retirement party, so that was the best of the week.
And he's a sweet guy. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
We had a chance to have dinner with him a couple months back.
Yeah. So we got to completely surprise him.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah. Todd, do you have any closing thoughts?
Smash the idols, all of them. Jesus plus isn't going to work no matter how hard you try. Jesus is enough. We keep thinking as a church we can just have more shiny idols than ever. It's not possible.
Amen to that.
What do you think of the Lanterns trailer? I do this. I do this all
Is
the time.
there one?
They just came out with one, yeah.
No.
I wanted to see if my buddy Jarrett Lemaster over at the Babylon Bee, because he's in the series. And I've told him for the last year, you are to tell me nothing. No spoilers, nothing. But I watched it to see if he was going to be in the trailer. And he is. He's in it. He is in it. So shout out to Jarrett. You guys all know Jarrett. He always plays the devil or Jesus in all the Babylon Bee skits. That's him. Have a good weekend. Go hard. Romans 8:28.